Hello and welcome. Choosing a new association management system, or AMS, is one of the most important decisions you can make. When you get it right, it can absolutely transform your organization. But if you get it wrong, well, it can become a really costly long-term mistake. So let's make sure you get it right. So you're in the market for a new AMS. Your first thought is probably to jump right into scheduling demos and making those big feature comparison spreadsheets, right? But what if I told you that for most associations, that is completely the wrong place to start? The single biggest mistake we see is organizations evaluating vendors who aren't even built to serve them in the first place. In this quick explainer, we're going to walk through why this is such a high-stakes challenge. Then I'll introduce you to the proprietary SmartThoughts 4-tier framework. It's designed to bring a ton of clarity to the process. We'll cover how to find your tier and ultimately get you on the path to making a really confident choice. Okay, let's start with the problem. When your selection committee spends its really valuable time looking at vendors from the wrong tier, the entire project can get derailed before it even really begins. And the costs, well, they're significant, both the ones you see and the ones you don't. Just think about it for a second. You end up wasting just countless hours in meetings and demos that go nowhere. You risk major budget overruns because you're trying to force a system to do something it wasn't designed for. This all leads to a super frustrating implementation. Your staff doesn't want to use the new system, and in the end, you're stuck with a tool that just fails to meet your core needs. It's a massive headache. So how do you avoid all that? Well, the key is to start with a framework that just cuts through all the market noise. And this is exactly where our proprietary SmartThoughts 4-tier framework comes in. We designed it to categorize the entire AMS market so you can focus only on the vendors who are the right size for you. The framework itself is pretty simple. It breaks the market into 4 distinct tiers, going all the way from micro-membership up to the enterprise level. Just understanding these tiers is the first and, honestly, the most crucial step in your selection process. Let's take a quick look at each one. All right, we'll begin with Tier 4. This is the starting point. It's really designed for the smallest organizations out there, where resources are tight and, simplicity is everything. So who fits here? We're talking about organizations with an operating budget under $1 million. They're often run by volunteers or a really small staff, maybe up to 5 people. And here's a key number. Their annual software investment is going to be less than $2,500. Think of these as your simple, effective, all-in-one solutions. Now, let's move up to Tier 3. Now, this space is where the market just explodes with options. It is easily the most crowded and competitive tier with over 30 different vendors all fighting for your business. Here, we're looking at associations with an operating budget right around that $1 million mark. The staff size scales up too, typically from 3 to 15 people, and the annual investment also goes up, but it usually stays under $10,000. The whole theme for this tier is basically good enough functionality. At Tier 2, we're entering the mid-market. And this is the point where good enough is just no longer good enough. These associations have much more complex needs. They require software with deeper functionality, especially when it comes to the core member database. And you'll see the numbers take a big jump. The operating budget is now over $2.5 million. Staff size is somewhere between 10 and 25 employees. And look at the investment. You're talking about a minimum software license cost of $20,000, with professional services starting around $50,000. And finally, we arrive at Tier 1, the enterprise level. Now, it's really important to get this. This tier is defined less by staff or member count and more by things like complexity, customization needs, and the software's underlying architecture. For these large, often national or even international organizations, the minimum operating budget is typically $5 million. Staff size, usually 30 or more. And the investment really reflects that complexity, with software licenses starting at a minimum of $40,000 and implementation often costing well over $150,000. Okay, so you've seen the 4 tiers that really define the whole market. The next question is obvious, right? Which one are we in? Well, luckily, there's a really straightforward way to pinpoint exactly where you fit. We call it the 3-factor test. By just evaluating 3 core metrics about your organization, you can accurately place your association right into the correct tier. It's that simple. So what are the 3 factors? First is your budget. That's your total annual operating budget. Second is your size, which really means your full-time staff count. And third is your complexity. This is all about your need for custom features, deep integrations with other software, and really robust specialized functions. Looking at these three things will point you directly to your tier. And that right there is the whole point. When you start with this framework, you immediately stop wasting time on vendors who are just a bad fit. You go into the selection process with clarity, with focus, and with the confidence that you're only talking to the right potential partners for you. So let's just circle back to what I said at the beginning. The single most important step in any AMS selection process is making sure you are evaluating vendors who are built to serve an organization of your size, your budget, and your complexity. If you get that part right, everything else just tends to fall into place. So, what's your next step? Well, you can take what you just learned and put it into action right now to find the vendors that are truly in your perfect fit tier. To do that, just go to smartthoughts.net/AMS-vendor-finder. You can use the free tool there to apply this framework and get a short list of vendors that are right sized for your association. Thanks for watching.